Bill Garden is a throwback, one of the last living links to a golden age when Seattle was the hub of a great tradition of wooden boat building, inspired by the region's maritime character and sustained by the vast forests of the Pacific Northwest.
If you want to have pure luxury.
At 87, building boats remains his passion. He still prefers to work in wood and sail.
How's that for comfort?
That's beautiful.
He's a representative of an era when naval architects were generalists, not specialists, when they designed workboats as well as pleasure boats, sail as well as power. He's been among the most prolific designers in the world. Someone once estimated there were 6,000 gardens on the water, but he's lost count.
I don't know, they go all every direction. You can't keep track of the boats. They're like dandelion fluff, I guess.
Dan Frank is the proprietor of the Seattle boatyard his grandfather founded in 1926.
Bill Garden and my father really started corroborating together and kind of rode each other's coattails into notoriety. We got the commission on the khaki M's, for instance, through Bill Garden.
William Garden is one of my favorite designers. You can instantly tell his designs, and he is one of the few designers who excels extremely well in both sailing yachts and motor yachts.
As far as I'm concerned, some of Bill's stuff is the prettiest stuff out there. He would never design something just for the money, you know, he just didn't care. So you wouldn't tell him what you wanted. It's sort of like Frank Lloyd Wright. He knew what he wanted to do, and he convinced people to go along and pay for it.
Today, Garden is something of a recluse. He lives on a private island in British Columbia. He calls it Toad's Landing.
And we got the headline in?
Yes.
He travels back and forth to his house aboard the Merlin, a 100-year-old one-time derelict he discovered propped up in a Vancouver Island backyard. He had a bit of time to kill that day as he waited for the ferry and gave the tired old hull a 3-minute survey. The lady of the house quoted a price of $1,000, and he bought it on the spot. It wouldn't have been worth it, he says, if you couldn't restore her yourself. Born in Canada, Garden became a U.S. citizen during World War II. He spent his urban years as a naval architect in Seattle. He resolved to move to Toad's Landing 35 years ago.
This is Toad's Landing. You want to circumnavigate it first?
Sure.
The tiny channel that surrounds Toad's Landing is shallow, bounded by outcroppings of rock that thoroughly intimidate the newcomer. But they don't intimidate Garden.
I'd head right for that second fir tree. This is a little shipyard we have here. We built the Claymore in here. She was 70 feet, and we just had 2 feet of length. This is a 6-cylinder Vauxhall gas engine out of a wrecked car. And it runs in second gear. That ought to make it do something.
Garden outfitted his shops with discarded machinery he extricated from industrial sites around British Columbia. His boatworks is a study in ingenuity that Rube Goldberg would have admired.
Some of it must be 80 years old. I got it from sawmills that were folding up when I first came up here. See, that engages that.
Garden has a grudging respect for fiberglass, and he concedes that aluminum is a pretty good material, if only it smelled like wood.
Well, that's what I was brought up with, was wood. That's what all the boatyards were doing, was wood. Wood is such a lovely, fragrant, friendly material, and you can do anything with it. And you can bend it and pound it, use a rasp and offend it. And
He remembers his early career fondly, when a gift for design was more important than formal credentials.
boats were simple then, you know. A boat builder with an eye for a boat, he could build a better looking sailboat than somebody with 3 degrees and all sorts of technical information.
I got to spend quite a bit of time just watching the process, and he could sketch better than I can do with a T-square and a triangle. I mean, just unbelievable artist. It was funny, my father liked Bill because he didn't get real detailed in his plans. He says some of the guys did so much detail, and you had to build it that way, and he maybe didn't want to build it that way. So he and Bill just clicked.
Garden was never short of work, but he admits he had to struggle to survive at first. He had a simple means of managing his accounts.
I had an in and an out column. That was the extent of all my life. That's all I've had. If out exceeds in, you better do something else. As I remember the first year, it was about $2,000 net return for a year's designing. And I remember I was very pleased at the income tax I had to pay, $200 or something. The accountant I had, she thought I was crazy. But it was a sign to me that at least I was living and eating.
There are those who have the urge to conceive inspired vessels, but not the talent. Garden figures he was lucky to have the gift.
You're really blessed if you're on fire to do something and you're competent to do it.